Hello, dear students. We are continuing with lesson 8 A House is Not a Home by Jane Gudioso from our supplementary reader Moments. And in our last class, we have seen that the author is a teenager schoolboy whose school has been changed, but he was not feeling comfortable or at home in his new school. He was continuously missing his friends, school, and teachers. One Sunday afternoon, when he was doing his homework at the dining table, his tabby cat was also with him. Suddenly, the author felt smoke, and now let's start. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. Now, they groping, fumbling, making their way to the front door, they all, the author, his mother, and the cat, ran out into the front yard. They all came in front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading quickly. So at the time they were coming outside, the whole roof was engulfed, covered with flames, and fire was spreading very fast. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So, when the author was going towards the neighbors to call the fire department, he saw that his mother was running back into the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. Now, his mother, she came out of the house carrying a small metal box of important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and, in a crazed state, ran back into the house. Now, the author's mother, she kept that case, metal box on the lawn and in a crazed state, in a confused, hurried manner, she ran back into the house. I knew what she was after. The author is known why she was running inside. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. So, the author was young when his father died, and definitely his mother would have gone inside to bring the pictures and letters of author's father, her husband. They were the only things that she had to remember him by, and all these things were his father's remembrance with his mother. Still, I screamed at her, Mom, no. Even the author knew everything. Still, he screamed, cried, Mom, no, don't go. I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. The author was about to go behind his mother, but at the same time he felt a hand on his back. It was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with fire trucks. The author, he was unable to notice that the street had already filled with fire trucks, so many fire trucks gathered there. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, You don't understand, my mother is in there. And the author was trying to free himself from the hold of firemen, yelling, crying, You don't know that my mother is in there. He was telling them that his mother was inside. He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house. Now, one fireman stood there holding the author back, and others ran into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and that if he were to let go, I would run. He was right. And that fireman, he was known that this boy, the author, he was not acting very logically. Suppose he might have left him, author would have gone inside the house behind his mother, and he was right. It's all right, they all get her, he said. And that fireman, he consoled him. It's all right, don't worry, the firefighters will bring your mother outside. He wrapped a blanket around me and sat me down in our car. So now this fireman covered a blanket around the author and made him sit inside his car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow. And soon after, a fireman came out from their house with his mother, pulling her outside tow pull. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. So the author's mother, she was brought towards the truck and put an oxygen mask. They put an oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. The author ran towards his mother and embraced her. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. Now, the author was always arguing with his mother and hated her vanished, and he started hating her on disappearing at that time with the thought of losing her. She is going to be okay, said the fireman. At that, the fireman said, don't worry, she would be all right. She just inhaled a little smoke, and she had smoked, or she had breathed a little smoke. And then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed, confused, bewildered. Now, and then that fireman ran back to fight the fire while the author and his mother sat there in bewildered, confused manner. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. Now the author, he remembered watching his house burning, and he thought that there was nothing that he could do. Now, 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. After almost 5 hours, the fire was extinguished, and our house was almost completely burnt down. Now, their house was completely burnt down, but then it struck me I hadn't seen my cat, and then suddenly he realized that he hadn't seen his cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. And he started looking for the cat, but for his horror, it's shocking for him that the cat was nowhere to be found. Then all at once it hit me, the new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. I was suffering loss big time. Now, then suddenly at once he realized the new school, the fire in his house, losing the cat, and he broke down in tears. He started crying bitterly and continued crying, and he was suffering loss big time. That's all. Rest we'll do later.